is up, everyone? Piscean here. In this video, we are going to look at the memorandum on the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. And this is from Office of Strategic Foresight, Astrological Working Group, also crafted with my AI agent, the Report Labs PDF crafter as well. It's for educational and discussion purposes. We see it's from Analytical Cell, Mundane Cycles Desk, to Interested Parties, Policy Discussion Distribution, Memorandum on the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries 2025 through 2027. And we're looking at historical precedents, mundane themes, the timeline, national timing considerations, and scenario planning. So here's the executive summary. Saturn and Neptune form their synodic conjunction approximately every 36 years. Current cycle reaches exactitude on February 20th, 2026 at approximately 0 degrees 45 Aries. The Aries point world axis is the first Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries in the modern historical record and the first in Aries since the early 18th century. Historical conjunctions have repeatedly coincided with the dissolution or reconfiguration of political, ideological, monetary, and territorial structures. The 1917 Leo, 1952-53 Libra, and 1989 Capricorn alignments each mark durable shifts in borders, belief systems, currency regimes, and the boundary between the real and the ideal. The present Aries placement emphasizes initiation, sovereignty claims, identity assertion, and potentially abrupt rather than gradual change. This memorandum reviews the three most recent conjunctions, tabulates the exact dates of the current cycle, notes zodiacal releasing considerations for selected national charts, and outlines scenario families for 2025 through 2028 across 6 policy domains. And the first is going to be borders. Next is going to be faith, then currencies, then ideological contagion, as well as crypto digital assets, and public health. And positions and dates, are drawn from published ephemerized sundial tables, cafe astrology, sky eye, and contemporary cycle analysis. Exact times vary slightly by source and time zone. So, as we can see, we have the historical precedents, 3 prior conjunctions. It looks like the first is 1917, with a conjunction in Leo from 3 to 5 degrees. So the exact conjunction occurred August 1st, 1917, tropical. And the year saw the February and October revolutions in Russia, the United States entry into World War I, and the progressive collapse of 3 continental empires, Russian, Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman. Ideological contagion, Bolshevism, proved highly portable. Borders were redrawn on an unprecedented scale in the subsequent settlements. Faith and dynastic legitimacy dissolved. New secular religions of class and nation filled the vacuum. We see 1952 through 1953 conjunction in Libra, 21 through 23 degrees, with triple exactitude November 21st, 1952, May 17th, 1953, and July 21st through the 22nd of 1953. We see that the period coincides with the death of Stalin, March 1953, Korean War armistice, in July 1953, the formalization of Cold War alliance structures, NATO consolidation, Warsaw Pact genesis, and intense ideological policing, McCarthyism peak. Libra signature balanced through opposition, manifested as rigid bipolarity. Currency and trade regimes remain under Bretton Woods discipline. The conjunction marked consolidation rather than collapse of the post-1945 order. 1989 conjunction in Capricorn, 10 through 12 degrees, triple exactitude, March 3rd, as well as June 23rd and through the 24th. November 13th, 1989. The signature events are the opening of the Hungarian border, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and the cascade of regime changes across Eastern Europe. Capricorn's institutional and hierarchical emphasis dissolved into the end of the bipolar security order. Monetary and ideological hard structures command economies. The Iron Curtain proved permeable. The conjunction is the clearest modern example of Saturn-Neptune as a solvent of borders and official narratives. And we see 1917 conjunction documented in null tables and multiple historical cycle studies. Leo placement linked by analysts to the theatrical ideological visibility of revolution. 1952 through 53, triple conjunction dates per Cafe Astrology, ephemeris consensus, Libra themes of alliance, justice, and polarized balance frequently noted. 1989 dates in Capricorn, institutional dissolution are the most widely cited modern precedents in both traditional and contemporary mundane literature. And now we're moving on to timeline of the current cycle. And we see, unlike the 1952 through 53 and 1989 triples, this conjunction is effectively a single exactitude at the Aries point, preceded by a prolonged approach through late Pisces and early Aries with these key windows, and we see this is an operational timeline. The Saturn-Neptune process for 2025 through 2027, exact date February 20th, 2026 at 0 degrees, 45 Aries, and we see the window, approximate timing, and configuration notes. So we notice that the approach begins 2023, early 2025. Saturn and Neptune within wide orb, both still in entering Pisces. Close approach June through August of 2025 within 1 degrees, and early Aries not exact high atmospheric tension. We see Saturn-Neptune re-entry January through February of 2026. Both return to Aries after brief Pisces excursions. Exact conjunction on February 20th, 2026, 0 degrees, 45 Aries, world axis, Aries point. Separation phase, March through December of 2026. The orb widens, residual co-presence, and Aries continues. And we see lingering co-presence 2027 through April 2028, where Saturn departs Aries, Neptune remains, and the cycle afterglow. So the rarity of an exact conjunction so close to 0 degrees Aries elevates the mundane weight assigned to the cycle in traditional world axis doctrine. Public initiatory and sovereignty-related themes are expected to be amplified relative to the Capricorn institutional or Libra relational polar placements of the prior two cycles. Aries point world axis significance is a standard feature of Iranian and modern mundane technique. The 0 degrees Aries placement is noted across contemporary cycle analysis. And now we're looking at domain analysis, expected pressure points, drawing on the symbolic logic of Saturn, structure, boundary, scarcity, and time, meeting Neptune, which is dissolution, ideal, contagion, the intangible, and 6 policy-relevant domains are highlighted here. So we notice the first is borders and territorial integrity. 1989 demonstrated the sudden permeability of previously hard borders. Aries adds a sovereignty and identity dimension, claims of self-determination, contested frontiers, and the militarization of or demilitarization of boundaries may become more salient. Watch for both dissolution events and aggressive reassertion of lines. We see faith, ideology, and belief systems. Saturn-Neptune historically correlates with the collapse of official ideologies and the rise of alternative or charismatic belief systems. 1917 and 1989 both featured rapid ideological succession. The Aries placement may favor activist, pioneering, or militant forms of belief rather than purely contemplative ones. Currencies and monetary trust. Neptune dissolves confidence, and we know Saturn imposes new forms of discipline or scarcity. Prior cycles have coincided with shifts in reserve arrangements and the credibility of paper claims. Digital and algorithmic forms of money sit at the Neptune-Saturn interface, intangible yet rule-bound. Ideological contagion and info environments. Neptune governs diffusion and infection, literal and metaphorical. Combined with Saturn's structuring impulse, the cycle favors both the rapid spread of narratives and subsequent attempts to contain, regulate, or harden them. Info borders, platforms, national firewalls, content regimes are natural theater. Crypto and digital assets as a class of assets that are simultaneously real, code, consensus rules, and ideal narrative network effect. Cryptocurrencies and related instruments sit squarely in Saturn-Neptune territory. Regulatory crystallization Saturn versus continued utopian or speculative diffusion Neptune is the core tension. See the Aries initiation signature may favor new protocol launches or sovereignty-linked digital currencies. Public health and collective vulnerability. Neptune has long been associated with epidemics, toxins, and collective psychic or physical vulnerability. Saturn with quarantine, restriction, and institutional response. The conjunction does not cause outbreaks, but historically it has coincided with heightened attention to the boundary between individual body and collective risk and to the credibility of public health authority. Zodiacal releasing considerations for major nations. So zodiacal releasing, or ZR, is a Hellenistic Time Lord technique that divides a chart's life into successive sign periods of fixed length according to the planetary periods of the sign rulers. When applied to national foundation charts, it offers a secondary timing layer. Following notes are illustrative only, with the precise level 1 and level 2 periods depend on the exact foundation data and lot of spirit fortune chosen. So we see the entity, illustrative ZR context for 2025 through 2028 and the analytical note, and we notice United States Sibley variance. Monitor whether a major period or loosening of the bond falls near the 2026 exactitude. Mars or Aries rule periods would be especially resonant, and we see Aries point activation may intersect national identity sovereignty chapters. The UK post-Brexit structural periods, any Capricorn or Aries L1, L2 windows merit watching for institutional or border themes. 1989 Capricorn conjunction left durable European realignments. Russian Federation, USSR legacy charts. 1917 and 1989 conjunctions were pivotal. Current Aries cycle may reactivate sovereignty and ideological narratives. Historical sensitivity to Saturn-Neptune is high. People's Republic of China foundation chart periods that emphasize collective ideology or territorial integrity should be cross-checked against the 2026 window. In Libra, 1952 through 53 coincided with early consolidation phases. European project key member states. 1989 remains the reference dissolution event. Aries initiation may favor new integrative or disintegrative initiatives. Border and currency union themes remain live. So we see this is the illustrative zodiacal releasing context for selected national entities, not a substitute for full ZR calculation on primary source charts. Zodiacal releasing periods follow the classical planetary years, which is Saturn 27 through 30, Jupiter 12, Mars 15, Sun 19, Venus 8, Mercury 20, Moon 25. Application to mundane charts is an extension of Hellenistic practice and remains interpretive. Scenario planning families. 3 broad scenario families are offered for planning stress tests. They are not predictions, they are structured possibilities consistent with the symbolic and historical material reviewed above. So for example, we see the first scenario is managed dissolution and re-institutionalization. Borders and ideologies soften but are rapidly replaced by new Saturnian frameworks, digital identity regimes, revised currency anchors, updated alliance charts. Public health and information authorities retain or regain credibility after a period of congestion. Crypto markets experience regulatory crystallization rather than collapse or utopian breakout. Probability weight and base case planning moderate to high. And we see scenario B, abrupt boundary failure and contagion. One or more hard boundaries, territorial, monetary, informational, or epidemiological, fail in a compressed time frame, producing cascade effects. Ideological or narrative contagion outruns institutional response capacity. Aries initiation energy manifests as unilateral actions and fait accompli. Recovery requires multi-year Saturnian rebuilding. Historical analogs, 1917, late 1989, probability weight lower but high impact. Scenario C, prolonged ambiguity in hybrid orders. Neither clean dissolution nor clean reinstitutionalization occurs. Hybrid arrangements, partial recognition of new entities, dual currency regimes, contested digital sovereignties, overlapping health jurisdictions persist through 2028. Neptune's fog and Saturn's delay combine into extended transition. Policy premium on adaptability and scenario agility. Probability weight moderate may coexist with elements of A or B in different theaters. Cross-cutting indicators to monitor, sudden shifts in border enforcement or recognition, credibility shocks to major currencies or reserve assets, rapid diffusion of novel ideological or religious movements, regulatory or tech phase changes in digital assets, and any public health event that reopens questions of collective versus individual risk management. Working recommendations. Treat the Feb 2026 exactitude and preceding June-August 2025 close approach as elevated attention. Windows for horizon scanning across the 6 domains. Commissioner update full zodiacal releasing and perfection analysis on primary national and institutional charts that fall under the analyst mandate. Maintain parallel scenario trackers ABC rather than a single point forecast. Update quarterly against observed boundary, narrative, and monetary indicators. Avoid deterministic or alarmist public messaging. The historical record shows durable change, not automatic catastrophe. Communication should emphasize preparedness and institutional adaptability. Revisit this memorandum after the exact conjunction and at the end of 2026 to assess which scenario family is gaining empirical weight. And sources and method notes. Primary chronological data, we see Richard Knowles' Saturn-Neptune tables, Cafe astrology aspect calendars, Sky-Eye planetary conjunction lists, contemporary cycle studies. Interpretive framework is traditional mundane astrology, Saturn structure, Neptune dissolution, augmented by the world axis doctrine, and selected Hellenistic timing zodiacal releasing. Historical correlations are retrospective pattern recognition, not controlled causal claims. This memorandum is an educational and analytical working paper. It applies historical, astrological psychoanalysis to contemporary strategic horizons. It does not constitute intelligence, official policy advice, financial guidance, or prediction of specific events. Astrology is treated here as a structured symbolic language for organizing historical analogy and scenario imagination. Decision makers should rely on conventional diplomatic, economics, scientific, and security assessments. The authors assume no liability for actions taken on the basis of this text. Thanks for watching this video with peace and love, and I'll see you in the next one. Piscean out.